What if I told you that a single policy proposal, one carrying Donald Trump's signature economic bravado, could send a $2,000 dividend stimulus check straight into the pockets of millions of Americans? And what if I also told you that the calendar has quietly shifted, that new payout windows are now being discussed in corridors of power where transparency is always optional? Because here's the truth. Whenever Washington whispers about dividends, stimulus, or direct payouts, the noise is rarely about generosity. It's about strategy. It's about leverage. And right now, the conversation surrounding these $2,000 checks has ignited a political voltage unlike anything we've seen since the pandemic era. You've probably seen the headlines, half triumphant, half skeptical. Some analysts call it economic theater. Others say it's a genuine attempt to redistribute a slice of national wealth back to the people who actually generate it. But regardless of where the truth lands, one thing is certain. The buzz is real, the expectations are building, and millions are asking the same question. Do I qualify? In this video, we cut through the fog. We dissect the proposals, the eligibility clues, the shifting timelines, and the political calculus driving it all. No fluff, no spin. Just a clear-eyed look at whether these payments are symbolic storytelling or the beginning of something far more tangible. If you want the unfiltered breakdown before the next update drops, hit like right now. Don't be the last to know. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive straight into what's actually unfolding with these so-called $2,000 dividend stimulus checks. Because the truth is far more complex, far more political, and far more consequential than the echo chamber of social media makes it seem. And if you're watching this right now, chances are you've already been hit with dozens of videos claiming checks are being mailed next week, next month, or any day now. But what's real? What's rumor? And where do you stand in all of this? That's exactly what we're breaking down, clearly, calmly, and without the noise. Let's begin with the heart of the matter. Is a $2,000 payment happening right now? The honest answer, the only answer that respects you as a viewer, is no. No such payment has been authorized, scheduled, approved, or rolled out. What we are dealing with is a proposal that has captured the public imagination and political spotlight. It's being discussed, teased, debated, amplified, and, depending on who you talk to, either hyped into the stratosphere or dismissed as political theater. And that gap between what's discussed and what's officially real is where confusion grows. But confusion doesn't mean the idea is fake. It doesn't mean it's impossible. What it means is that we must understand what stage this idea is in, why it's gaining traction, and what the path forward would realistically look like if it were to become a real check landing in your account. So let's trace the concept back to its origins. When this idea first hit the national conversation, it wasn't framed as a traditional stimulus check. It wasn't pandemic relief 2.0. It was pitched as something very different. A tariff dividend, a sort of national rebate where revenue collected from tariffs would be redistributed back to American households. Essentially, the government collects money from international trade, then returns a slice of it to regular citizens. It's bold, it's unconventional, and depending on your perspective, it's either a clever workaround or a risky economic experiment. But here's where things get complicated. Proposals do not equal programs. For any federal payment, whether you call it a stimulus, a dividend, or a tax credit, to actually reach the American people, Congress must approve it, the Treasury must implement it, and the IRS must distribute it. That takes legislation, infrastructure, logistics, and time. Think about the stimulus checks from 2020 and 2021. They didn't magically appear overnight. They required congressional votes, presidential signatures, verification systems, identity checks, and large-scale coordination. That's why, despite everything being said online right now, there is no official date, no December deposit, no surprise holiday rollout, no secret IRS schedule. If you've seen videos promising that, understand that they are repeating speculation, not reality. Now, does that mean the proposal is meaningless? Not at all. In fact, the conversation around it is gaining momentum precisely because the economic environment makes the idea appealing to millions. Families are stretched thin, prices remain elevated, wages haven't kept up with the cost of living, Housing affordability is a crisis, and people are exhausted by mixed signals about inflation, recession risks, interest rates, and the general uncertainty of everyday life. Against that backdrop, the idea of a $2,000 check, one not tied to a pandemic emergency but framed as a share of national revenue, hits like a lightning bolt. It's simple, it's direct. It feels like a correction to years of people feeling squeezed by forces beyond their control. And politically, it has just enough populist energy to attract attention across ideological lines. Some see it as relief, some see it as justice, some see it as a smart redistribution of resources, and some see it as a way to make trade policy more palatable. But none of that changes the crucial fact: nothing has crossed the legislative finish line. Now let's talk about timelines, because timelines are where a lot of misinformation spreads. People want dates, people want clarity, people want certainty. But the reality is that even if Congress were to approve a tariff dividend program tomorrow, and that's a very big if, the rollout wouldn't be instantaneous. Historically, federal benefit distributions take months to implement. You need systems to verify eligibility, guard against fraud, process payments, and ensure accuracy. That suggests a realistic timeline that extends well into the future, not something landing in your bank account next week. And that brings us to the question many of you care about the most: who would qualify? The truth is, because no law has been written, there are no official eligibility rules yet. There is no income range, no age cutoff, no work requirement, no tax filing threshold. Until Congress drafts an actual bill, everything online about qualification is guesswork. The general political framing has hinted that working-class and middle-income families might be the primary targets. But again, that's talk, not policy. At this moment, officially, there is no way to say whether someone earning $20,000 qualifies or someone earning $120,000 qualifies. There is no way to say whether seniors qualify, or whether it's limited to workers, or whether children count as dependents for additional amounts. Those details can only be known when legislation is written, debated, amended, and finalized. Anything before that is speculative. Next, let's address the economic debate surrounding all this, because the proposal hasn't emerged in a vacuum. Supporters argue that a dividend-style payment empowers the middle class, boosts spending, and gives everyday Americans a share of national revenue. Critics argue that tariffs can raise consumer prices and that returning part of the revenue doesn't necessarily ease the cost burden on households. You can find economists who support the idea and economists who reject it, and that's exactly what makes this such a politically charged proposal. But while experts debate, one thing is absolutely undeniable: the public interest is enormous. Videos about the checks are blowing up everywhere. Comment sections are full of people asking, "How do I apply?" or "When is it coming?" or "Where do I sign up?" That overwhelming demand, that genuine need, is a major reason this conversation refuses to die. Politicians pay attention when millions of people suddenly become emotionally invested in a policy idea. And that's why you're seeing this proposal being talked about more and more, even without legislative movement. It has become a symbol of relief, a symbol of hope, a symbol of the frustration so many feel when they hear about economic growth on the news but don't see it reflected in their daily lives. Now, with all that said, here is the absolute core truth viewers need to internalize. There is no check coming right now, but the conversation is real, the political stakes are real, and the possibility of future action is real. It isn't guaranteed, but it isn't fantasy either. It lives in the middle, and the middle is where policy often begins. So what does that mean for you? It means staying informed. It means not falling for scammers claiming they can register you for payments. It means not giving out personal information to anyone promising early access. It means watching what lawmakers do, not just what commentators say. And it means treating this as a developing story, not a done deal. But here's where your attention becomes incredibly important. Proposals like this rise or fall based on how much public energy surrounds them. When millions of people care, lawmakers care. When millions ask questions, lawmakers respond. When millions demand clarity, lawmakers are forced to address it. Public engagement, real, informed engagement, influences political outcomes more than most people realize. So keep your eyes open, keep your expectations realistic, and keep your understanding sharp. Because as this story evolves, the people who follow the facts, not the rumors, will be the first to recognize the moment when proposal turns into policy. And if that moment comes, if Congress moves, if the IRS begins preparations, if a real schedule emerges, you'll want to know instantly, not after the fact. These updates are changing quickly, and staying ahead of misinformation is the only way to protect yourself and stay ready for whatever comes next. So if you want the real truth, the real explanations, the updates without drama and without deception, make sure you're locked in right here. Hit like right now so more people get real information instead of rumors, and stay tuned for the next chapter in this unfolding story.